chosen one. Why did you wake up at 3:40 am this morning with your heart pounding? Why have the last 4 days felt like you're walking through invisible quicksand? Why does Friday feel like it's waiting for you with teeth? Stop, don't scroll past this. Something found you here, not the algorithm, not chance. Heaven intercepted your scroll. Listen to me carefully, and I mean carefully, because what I'm about to tell you has been burning in my spirit since Monday, and it's the reason your peace has been under siege all week. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange heaviness pressing on your chest when you wake up. That confusion that makes you forget why you walked into a room. Old memories crawling out of graves you thought were sealed faces you haven't thought about in 30 years suddenly haunting your mind. And that exhaustion, that bone-deep fatigue that 8 hours of sleep can't touch. You thought it was just age, you thought it was just stress. But chosen one, what if I told you that every single symptom you've experienced this week has been a spiritual warning system activating? It's like the air changes before a storm hits. The birds go silent. The sky turns that strange yellow-green. The temperature drops. But only the awakened can feel it coming while everyone else is still having picnics. Friday is not just another day on your calendar. Friday is a spiritual intersection, a divine checkpoint, a moment when heaven and hell both lean in to see what you'll do when everything you've believed gets tested one final time. Before we go deeper, and we're going deep tonight, I want to thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit lead your heart. But right now, if your spirit already feels what I'm talking about, if something in your chest just tightened when I mentioned Friday, I need you to do something. Type these 2 words in the comments. I feel it. Don't scroll. That agreement keeps you under this covering. That declaration signals to heaven that you're awake and you're listening. Because here's what heaven paused my spirit to warn you about. Friday carries a final test. And by the end of this message, you will understand exactly why everything intensified this week, what Friday is trying to expose, and how to survive what's coming with your faith not just intact, but ignited. The danger is real, but so is the deliverance. Are you ready to see what only the chosen can see? Why has every conversation this week felt like walking through a minefield? Why does your own mind feel like it's turning against you? And why, tell me why, does Friday feel like it's been circled on a calendar you can't see? Because chosen one, what's coming isn't what you think it is. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. When the Bible talks about danger, it's almost never about physical attack. It's not about somebody breaking into your house. It's not about car accidents or medical emergencies. The danger Scripture warns about is far more lethal because it attacks where you can't see it coming. It attacks your mind, your emotions, your faith, your resolve. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says we must take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. Why? Because the real battlefield isn't out there, it's in here, between your ears, in the sacred space where your hope lives or dies. And Friday is when that battlefield becomes a war zone. Listen to me carefully, dear one. The enemy doesn't fear your age. He never has. You want to know what terrifies him? Your endurance. You've survived too much to be tricked easily. You've walked through fires that would have cremated weaker souls. You've outlasted betrayals, buried loved ones, weathered financial storms, and you're still standing, still praying, still believing. So he can't come at you with the same cheap tricks that work on the young and naive. He has to be subtle, strategic, surgical. This is spiritual sabotage disguised as normal life. Let me paint you a picture of what Friday is preparing to unleash. And I need you to pay attention because recognition is your first line of defense. There's a conversation coming. It might be with your daughter who never calls. It might be with your son who only reaches out when he needs money. It might be with a neighbor, a church member, someone at the grocery store. But this conversation will not be random. It will be designed, and I mean designed, to reopen an old wound you thought had healed. That rejection from 30 years ago, that thing someone said that you got over. Friday is going to poke it, prod it, make it bleed fresh. Then there's the misunderstanding, something small, something that shouldn't matter. A text message misread, a tone misinterpreted, words twisted. And suddenly, you're defending yourself to someone who's already made up their mind about you. The confusion won't make sense, and that's the point. Confusion is a weapon. When you can't think clearly, you can't fight effectively. But it gets deeper, more personal. There's a moment of loneliness coming. A specific moment when everyone else seems busy. And you're sitting in that chair, you know, the one. And the silence gets so loud it starts whispering lies. Nobody really cares. You're a burden. You've outlived your usefulness. Maybe it would be easier if you just weren't here anymore. Stop right there. That voice, that's not your voice. That's not God's voice. That's the voice of the enemy, who knows that if he can get you to agree with hopelessness, he can shut down the anointing that still burns in your bones. And here's what's going to shock you. Someone from your past is going to surface. Maybe physically. Maybe through a phone call. Maybe just in your thoughts. But that person who hurt you, who betrayed you, who walked away when you needed them most, they're coming back into your consciousness on Friday. Not for reconciliation, for distraction, to pull your focus away from what God is trying to do. Then there's the fatigue. You're going to wake up tired, not just physically tired, spiritually exhausted. Like someone drained your prayer tank overnight. Like your faith is running on fumes. You'll think it's just your body breaking down. But chosen one, when physical fatigue carries spiritual weight, that's not arthritis. That's warfare. If you knew what Friday is trying to rewrite, you'd guard your spirit like a vault. You see, Friday is a spiritual X-ray. It exposes cracks you forgot were there. Weaknesses you thought you'd overcome. Doubts you buried under decades of church attendance. And the enemy is betting, he's gambling his entire strategy on the possibility that you won't recognize the test for what it is. He's hoping you'll think it's just a bad day. Just your emotions acting up. Just the stress of getting older. Because if you don't identify it as spiritual warfare, you won't fight back spiritually. You'll fight with your flesh, your emotions, your limited human strength. And flesh cannot win spiritual battles. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. Here's what the enemy is desperately trying to hide from you. What happens on Friday determines what opens on Saturday. Did you catch that? Let me say it again, because this is the hinge on which your entire weekend, your entire next season swings. What happens on Friday determines what opens on Saturday. The test isn't random, it's strategic. Friday is deciding whether you're ready for the doors God wants to open in your life. The breakthroughs, the healings, the reconciliations, the financial turnarounds, the generational blessings. But those doors only open for people who pass the test. So I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself. Right now, at this very moment, is your spirit on high alert? Are you recognizing that what you thought was just a rough week has actually been a setup for Friday's final exam? Share this with someone over 60. They need this covering. They need to know what's coming so they can prepare, not be blindsided. Because the danger is real, the test is designed, and Friday is almost here. But here's what you need to understand before Friday arrives. There are ancient weapons you've forgotten you carry. Weapons that have been sitting in your spiritual arsenal gathering dust. And if you don't pick them up before Friday morning, you're walking into a gunfight with your hands in your pockets. So the question burning in my spirit right now is this: do you even remember what those weapons are? Listen to me, dear one. I need to tell you something that's going to cut through every lie the enemy has been whispering in your ear for the last 20 years. You've been told you're getting old. You've been told your time is over. You've been told to step aside, sit down, and let the younger generation take the lead. But what if I told you that every single whisper telling you you're finished is coming straight from the pit of hell? The enemy is not targeting you because you're weak. He's targeting you because you're dangerous. Think about your life for a moment. Really think about it. You've buried people you loved more than your own breath. You've stood at gravesides when the rain mixed with your tears and nobody could tell the difference. You've held the hand of your spouse as they took their last breath, and somehow you're still here, still standing, still breathing. You've survived wars that younger generations only read about in history books. You've lived through recessions that wiped out everything you'd built. You've raised children through storms that would have destroyed weaker souls. You've walked through valleys so dark that you couldn't see your own hand in front of your face, and yet you kept walking. And now they want you to believe your strength is gone. Let me tell you what's really happening. Every sleepless night when you lie awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering if your children will ever call. Every time you reach for the phone and put it back down because you don't want to be a burden. Every morning you wake up with pain in places you didn't know could hurt, and you still get out of bed and face another day. That's not weakness, beloved. That's warrior Dinar. But the enemy knows something about you that maybe you've forgotten. He knows that you carry something the younger generation doesn't have and can't fake. You carry proven faith. Not theoretical faith. Not Sunday school faith. Not social media faith. You carry the kind of faith that's been tested in furnaces hot enough to melt steel, and you came out refined like gold. Look at Job. Everyone talks about Job's suffering, but let me tell you what they don't preach about in church. Job's final test didn't come at the beginning of his life. It came when he was established, when he was settled, when he thought he had it all figured out. The enemy waited until Job had decades of faithfulness under his belt before he struck. Why? Because Satan knew that if he could break Job after all those years of proven loyalty to God, it would be the ultimate victory. But Job looked at everything he'd lost: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. And he said words that still shake hell to this day. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. That's the faith of someone who's been tested. That's the faith of someone who knows. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to his greatest assignment. 80. The world would have put him in a retirement home. But God said, "Now you're ready. Now you've been refined enough. Now you've been broken enough. Now you know that it's not your strength but mine." And Caleb, oh listen to Caleb, at 85 years old, 85. When other men his age were sitting in rocking chairs complaining about their joints, Caleb looked at the mountain that terrified everyone else and declared, "Give me this mountain." Do you hear what he was really saying? He was saying, I don't want the easy path. I don't want retirement. I don't want to fade quietly into the background. Give me the hardest battle. Give me the impossible challenge. Because I've got 85 years of proof that my God doesn't fail. Your age isn't the danger, chosen one. Your anointing is the danger. To hell, to darkness, to every principality that's been ruling your family line, your neighborhood, your generation. You are a lighthouse, and I need you to understand something about lighthouses. They're not built on sunny beaches where everything is calm and peaceful. They're built on the most dangerous rocks, in the most violent storms, in the places where ships are most likely to crash and souls are most likely to perish. And when our lighthouses attack the most, during the storm, when the winds are howling at 100 miles per hour, when the waves are crashing 70 feet high, when the darkness is so thick you can taste it, that's when the enemy tries to extinguish the light. Because he knows that if your light stays on during the storm, every ship in the harbor will make it home safely. You think hell fears the young, the ones with energy and enthusiasm but no scars to prove God's faithfulness. No, hell fears you. Hell fears the grandmother who's prayed through 3 generations of rebellion and watched every single prodigal come home. Hell fears the grandfather who lost everything in the Depression and built it back with nothing but faith and calloused hands. Hell fears the seasoned, because you don't guess God is faithful, you don't hope He keeps His promises, you don't think He's a provider. You know, you have 60, 70, 80 years of receipts. You have a resume of resurrections. You have a track record of impossibilities that became realities. And that kind of faith, that kind of proven, tested, refined, unshakable faith, that's what moves mountains. That's what silences accusers. That's what makes demons tremble. So when the enemy comes at you with loneliness, with fear about your health, with anxiety about your finances, with whispers that you're forgotten and irrelevant to understand what's really happening, he's trying to take you out before Friday, before your final test, before the moment when your proven faith becomes the very thing that breaks generational curses and shifts atmospheres. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you let him convince you that your season is over? Or will you rise up one more time and declare, "Give me this mountain"? Because Friday is coming, and what happens next depends on whether you remember who you really are. You know what nobody talks about? That fog. That thick, suffocating fog that's been sitting on your mind for the last 72 hours. You walk into the kitchen and forget why you're there. You pick up the phone to call someone, and their name vanishes from your memory like smoke. You sit in your favorite chair and feel nothing. Just this strange, heavy emptiness that makes you wonder if something inside you is finally breaking down for good. Dear one, lean in close, because what I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought was happening to you. You're not losing your mind. You're entering your refinement. That confusion you've been battling, that's not dementia knocking on your door. That forgetfulness that makes you feel like you're disappearing, that's not age stealing your sharpness. That emotional numbness that makes you feel like you're living behind glass, watching your own life from a distance, that's not depression winning. It's spiritual anesthesia. And Friday is when the surgeon arrives. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening in the invisible realm right now. For weeks, maybe months, you've been praying, crying out to God, begging for breakthrough, for clarity, for relief from this weight you've been carrying. And then silence. Heaven went quiet. Your prayers started feeling like they were bouncing off the ceiling and falling back on your head like cold rain. You thought God stopped listening. You thought maybe you'd finally pushed him too far with your doubts, your questions, your moments of weakness at 2 a.m. when you whispered things you're ashamed of now. You thought maybe this is it, maybe he's done with me. But what if I told you that the silence you're experiencing right now is not God stepping back? It's God stepping in. Think about Jesus in that boat on the Sea of Galilee. The disciples are losing their minds. Waves crashing over the sides, water filling the boat, death staring them in the face. And where's Jesus? Asleep, sound asleep on a cushion in the back of the boat like he doesn't have a care in the world. Mark 4:13 says they woke him up screaming, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown? Don't you care?" Those 3 words reveal everything about how we interpret God's silence, don't they? When heaven goes quiet, We immediately assume it means God doesn't care, that He's not paying attention, that we've been forgotten, overlooked, abandoned in our hour of greatest need. But look what happens next. Jesus stands up calm, unhurried, completely in control, and speaks 3 words that shattered the storm: "Peace, be still." And immediately, the Bible says, there was a great calm. The silence before the miracle wasn't abandonment. It was setup. Jesus was sleeping through the storm because He knew exactly how the story ended. The disciples' panic didn't change the outcome. Their fear didn't determine their fate. The storm was never in control. He was. And chosen one, the same thing is happening to you right now. That heaviness you've been feeling, it's the weight of glory pressing down, preparing to break through. Those old fears crawling back, the ones you thought you'd buried years ago, they're being forced to the surface one final time, so God can destroy them at the root. That confusion making you question everything, it's the enemy's last desperate attempt to convince you that you can't hear God's voice anymore. But here's the truth that's going to anchor your soul. Before a surgeon makes an incision, he asks for silence in the room. No talking, no distractions, no noise. Because what he's about to do requires absolute focus and precision. One wrong move could be catastrophic. But in the hands of a skilled surgeon, that silence isn't scary, it's sacred. God is asking for silence in your life right now, because He's about to operate on things that have been killing you slowly for decades. Generational curses that have followed your family line for 100 years. Traumas you've carried since childhood that have shaped every relationship, every decision, every moment of self-doubt. Lies the enemy planted in your spirit so long ago that you started believing they were your own thoughts. The confusion you're feeling isn't random. It's strategic. Heaven is scrambling the enemy's signal, disrupting the frequency of fear that's been broadcasting into your mind, jamming the transmission of doubt that's been playing on repeat since you were young enough to believe you weren't worthy of love. Your confusion is proof that something is being rewired. I know it feels like you're falling apart. I know the fog makes you feel like you're losing yourself piece by piece. But what if you're not falling apart? What if you're being carefully, strategically taken apart by the Master's hands so He can remove what was never supposed to be there in the first place? Job sat in ashes for months, confused, suffering, with no explanation from heaven. His friends told him he must have sinned. His wife told him to curse God and die. But Job said something in chapter 2-3 verse 10 that should be tattooed on your heart right now. But He knows the way that I take. When He has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. When, not if, when. The test of confusion is temporary. The gold is eternal. And Friday is when the refining fire reaches its highest temperature. If you're in a confusing season right now, if nothing makes sense and heaven feels 1,000 miles away, type 444 in the comments. That's not just a number. That's your declaration that even in the fog, even in the silence, even in the wait, you still believe heaven sees you. Because it does, beloved. Heaven sees you. And what's about to happen on Friday will prove it. But first, you need to understand exactly what this final test is really testing. You know what's been happening to you this week that you haven't told anyone about. Let me tell you what heaven showed me, and you tell me if I'm right. You've been crying at strange times. Tuesday afternoon, you were folding laundry and suddenly tears just came. You couldn't even explain why. Wednesday morning, you looked in the mirror and felt invisible, like even your own reflection didn't really see you anymore. Thursday night, a memory from 19TT hit you so hard you had to sit down. A face, a voice, a moment you thought you'd buried forever. And through it all, there's been this feeling, this weight, like you're carrying something you can't name, mourning something you can't identify, grieving something that hasn't even happened yet. If I'm talking to you right now, if these words are reading your diary, Type 3 words in the comments. This is me. Because chosen one, what you're experiencing isn't random. It's not your medication. It's not just age. It's not even depression, though that's what your doctor might call it. What's happening to you is something far more significant, far more sacred, far more strategic. You are being emotionally triggered on purpose by heaven for your breakthrough. Let me take you deeper. You've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years building walls around your heart, brick by brick, betrayal by betrayal, disappointment by disappointment. You learned early that if you don't feel too much, you can't hurt too much. You learn to smile when you're dying inside. You learn to say, "I'm fine," when you're falling apart. You became a master at hiding your heart even from yourself. But God is saying, not anymore, not this Friday. The walls come down. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that these emotional triggers are attacks. He wants you to think that feeling forgotten means you are forgotten. That feeling useless means you are useless. That feeling attacked by your own family means you deserve to be attacked. But that's the lie that's kept you in prison for decades. The truth, God is using these triggers like a surgeon uses a scalpel. Precise, intentional, painful. Yes, but healing. Think about what you've been feeling this week. Let's call it by name, because naming it strips away its power over you. You feel forgotten. Your children don't call as much as they used to. Your grandchildren are glued to screens when you're trying to share stories. The church you served faithfully for 40 years barely remembers your name now. You sit at holiday dinners feeling like a ghost at your own family table. You feel useless. Society tells you that once you retire, you're done. Your body doesn't move like it used to. Your mind doesn't remember like it used to. The world has moved on to younger, faster, shinier things, and you're left wondering what you're even still here for. You feel misjudged. People look at your age and assume you're out of touch, irrelevant, stuck in the past. They don't see your wisdom, they see your wrinkles. They don't value your experience, they dismiss your old ways. And those memories, oh, those memories that keep resurfacing. The father who never said he was proud of you. The marriage that ended in betrayal. The child you lost. The dreams you buried. The mistakes you made. The people you hurt. The people who hurt you. They're all coming back this week like uninvited guests at a funeral. Why now? Why this week? Why is everything hitting at once? Because Friday is coming. And Friday carries a test so precise, so personalized, so penetrating that God had to soften the soil of your heart first. He had to crack open the vault where you've been hiding your deepest pain. Because you can't heal what you won't feel, and you can't conquer what you won't confront. Listen to what Jesus said in John 6:20. You will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. Did you catch that? Your grief will turn to joy. Not might, not maybe will. But there's a process, there's a passage. There's a Friday before there's a Sunday. David understood this. In Psalm 35 he declared, "Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." But here's what most people miss. David wrote that psalm after he'd been through the night. After the tears. After the triggers. After the pain that felt like it would never end. The pressure you're feeling this week isn't punishment, beloved. It's preparation. God is doing to you what a jeweler does to a diamond. You see, a diamond in its raw form looks like a worthless rock, dull, dirty, ordinary. But when a master jeweler takes that rock and applies pressure at precisely the right angle, at precisely the right intensity, at precisely the right moment, suddenly light explodes from within. Suddenly what looked worthless becomes priceless. You are that diamond. This week has been the pressure. Friday is the precise angle. And what's about to happen when pressure meets purpose will leave you, and everyone watching your life absolutely stunned. But here's the part that's going to wreck you. The pain you feel on Friday is not punishment. It's promotion in disguise. Every trigger you've experienced this week has been exposing a wound that's been festering in secret. That feeling of being forgotten. It's exposing your need to remember that God never forgets. Isaiah 14:3 says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast? Though she may forget, I will not forget you." That feeling of being useless. It's exposing the lie that your worth comes from what you do instead of whose you are. That feeling of being misjudged. It's preparing you to stop living for human approval and start walking in divine assignment. Friday will poke the deepest wound, not to hurt you, but to heal what's been hiding. Not to break you, but to break you open so that what's been trapped inside can finally get out. Not to destroy you, but to expose the enemy's last stronghold so that God can demolish it once and for all. The question is, will you let him? Or will you do what you've done for decades, push it down, lock it up, smile through the pain, and pretend you're fine? Because I need to tell you something that's going to change everything about how you see Friday. You know what's happening to you right now that the world can't see. You know why you've been feeling things others dismiss as just your age. Listen to me carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about your spiritual sensitivity. That moment last Tuesday when you walked into your kitchen and suddenly felt your mother's presence. She's been gone 20 years, but you felt her there. That dream you had where your deceased husband spoke to you so clearly you woke up checking if he was in the room. That sudden knowing, that absolute certainty that your grandchild was in trouble 3 states away, and when you called, you were right. The world calls it coincidence. Doctors call it age-related confusion. But I'm here to tell you something that's going to change everything. You're not losing your mind. You're gaining spiritual sight. Hebrews 10:1 declares, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses," surrounded, present tense, they're here. They're watching. And you're beginning to see what's been there all along. Here's what nobody tells you about getting older. The veil between heaven and earth gets thinner. That intuition you've been experiencing isn't dementia. That sensitivity that makes you weep at things that never bothered you before isn't weakness. That déjà vu, those moments when time seems to fold in on itself, that's not your memory failing. That's the veil thinning. That's heaven leaning in so close you can feel its breath on your face. But why now? Why you? Why this Friday? Because, chosen one, you are standing at the edge of the greatest spiritual unveiling of your entire life. And what you cannot see with your natural eyes is working for you in ways that would stagger your comprehension if you could witness it. Right this second, not tomorrow, not next week, but in this exact moment as you hear my voice, there are angels in your room. They're not just present. They're observing. They're taking notes. They're watching how you respond to what feels like danger, how you handle what looks like delay, how you react when Friday arrives with its final test. 2 Kings 6:7 gives us a glimpse behind the curtain. Elisha's servant was terrified by the enemy army surrounding them. But Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so he may see." And suddenly the servant saw what was really there. Horses and chariots of fire, the mountain full of heaven's army. Dear one, what if I prayed that prayer over you right now? What if your eyes were open to see what's really surrounding you? You wouldn't see danger. You'd see deployment. You wouldn't see threat. You'd see throne room strategy. Because here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. You are not in danger because you're weak. You are in danger because you're powerful. Hell doesn't mobilize against empty vessels. Satan doesn't waste ammunition on people who pose no threat. The very fact that Friday is targeting you is proof, undeniable, irrefutable proof, that you carry something that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Think about it. When was the last time you felt this level of spiritual warfare? When was the last time the attacks came this fast, this fierce? This focused, it's because heaven is weighing your motives, testing your identity, preparing to release blessings so massive that you had to be proven capable of carrying them without being destroyed by them. Job 2:3-10 says, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." When he has tested you. The test isn't questioning whether you'll pass. The test is revealing who you've been all along. Right now, in the unseen realm, there's a cosmic calculation happening. Every tear you've cried this week measured. Every prayer you've whispered in the dark recorded. Every moment you chose faith over fear, trust over terror, worship over worry, heaven has been keeping score. And hidden blessings have been locked in a vault with your name on it, waiting for one thing: your obedience on Friday. This is why the intensity increased. This is why Monday felt heavy. Tuesday brought confusion. Wednesday resurrected old wounds. Thursday pressed on your peace. Because Friday is the curtain call. And when a curtain is about to rise, the room gets silent. That's where you are right now. In the sacred silence before the greatest unveiling of your life. But here's what's going to wreck you in the most beautiful way. The veil thinning means heaven is closer than it's ever been in your lifetime. Your 70 years, your 80 years, your 90 years of walking with God have been bringing you to this moment when the distance between you and glory is measured in a whisper instead of a shout. You think you're dying, you're not dying, you're arriving. You think you're fading, you're not fading. You're being unveiled. You think your best days are behind you. Beloved, the best is what's been waiting behind the veil. Ephesians 3:20 promises God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. But here's the part that will shock you, that verse doesn't end there. It says he does this according to the power that works in us. In us. Not around us. Not for us, in us. The power has been inside you all along, hidden behind the veil of what you thought were limitations. So when Friday comes, and it's coming fast, don't you dare cower. Don't you dare shrink back. Don't you dare believe the lie that you're too old, too tired, too broken for what God is about to do. Because what you cannot see is working for you with such fierce intentionality that hell itself is trembling. Share this video with someone who feels invisible right now. They need this revelation. They need to know that what they can't see is actually the most real thing in their life. But the question that will determine everything is this: when the veil fully parts on Friday, when heaven reveals what's been working in your favor all along, will you be ready to step through? Or will you let fear keep you on the wrong side of your miracle? Now listen to me very carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to give you isn't suggestion. This is divine instruction. This is the blueprint for surviving what Friday is about to throw at you. Heaven has been watching you all week. Every moment you thought you were alone, every tear you cried in secret, every time you almost broke but didn't, it was all recorded. And now Friday arrives carrying one question that will determine the next 30 years of your life. Will you react like flesh or respond like spirit? You see, the enemy has been studying your patterns for decades. He knows exactly what pushes your buttons. He knows which words from your daughter make you explode. He knows which memory from your past sends you spiraling. He knows that phone call that never comes crushes you every single time. And on Friday, he's going to use every single weapon in his arsenal to make you react. But here's what hell doesn't understand about the chosen ones. We don't fight in the flesh anymore. We've learned something that devils fear, the power of spiritual restraint. So let me give you the 4 commands that will carry you through Friday's test. Write these down. Memorize them. Let them become the rhythm of your heartbeat. Command number 1. Do not react emotionally, respond spiritually. Proverbs 10:11 says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." That word, soft, in Hebrew means gentle, tender, under control. Not weak, controlled. There's a massive difference between weakness and restraint. Weakness can't help itself. Restraint chooses its battles. When that family member says something that cuts you Friday morning, when that bill arrives that shouldn't have arrived, when that pain in your body flares up at exactly the wrong moment, your flesh will scream, "Reet." Defend yourself. Say something. But your spirit knows better. Your spirit has been trained in the wilderness. Your spirit understands that some battles are won by silence. Command number 2, say nothing negative. Silence is your weapon. James 3:6 warns us, "The tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. It defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell." Did you catch that? Set on fire of hell. Your words on Friday aren't just words, they're either weapons for heaven or ammunition for hell. Every complaint you speak gives the enemy legal authority. Every negative declaration opens a door you'll spend months trying to close. But your silence is a fortress. Your silence is a weapon that hell cannot penetrate. When you refuse to speak death, you're actually speaking life through your restraint. I know what you're thinking, but I have a right to speak my mind. I've earned the right at my age to say what I feel. Beloved, you're absolutely right. You have the right. But rights don't win spiritual wars, wisdom does. And sometimes the wisest thing you can do is close your mouth and let God fight for you. Command number 3, stay home if let Friday amplifies every interaction. Exodus 10:4 gives us this powerful promise. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Moses told this to Israel when they were trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army. They wanted to run, to fight, to do something. But God said, stand still. On Friday, if the Holy Spirit whispers, stay home, that's not fear, that's strategy. Because Friday amplifies everything. A normal conversation becomes a confrontation. A simple errand becomes a spiritual ambush. The enemy knows your routine, and he's positioned traps along your regular path. This isn't about hiding. This is about positioning. Sometimes the battlefield isn't where the enemy expects you to be. It's in your prayer closet, on your knees. In the secret place where heaven moves while hell is searching for you in the streets. Command number 4, guard your heart. What you carry is holy ground. Proverbs 4:23 commands, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That word, keep, means to guard like a soldier guards a king's treasure. Your heart isn't just an organ pumping blood. Your heart is the sacred chamber where God's presence dwells. And Friday, the enemy wants access to that chamber. He'll send people to upset you, situations to confuse you, memories to haunt you, all designed to get you to open the door of your heart to bitterness, anger, fear, doubt. But you're not falling for it. Not this time. Not on Friday. Because what you carry is too precious to contaminate with temporal emotions. Now let me tell you why this matters so much. A test is always silent when the teacher is watching. In school, did the teacher talk during exams? No. She sat at her desk, watched and waited to see what you had learned. Friday is your exam, chosen one. Heaven is watching. Hell is watching. And your response will determine whether you graduate to the next level or repeat this lesson again. What you do on Friday will rewrite the next 30 years of your story. I'm not being dramatic, I'm being prophetic. The choice you make in that moment, when everything in you wants to explode, when every fiber of your being screams for vindication, when your flesh demands its rights, that choice echoes into eternity. If you accept this instruction, if you're ready to let heaven rewrite your story through the power of restraint, type, I accept, in the comments right now. That's not just words, that's a covenant between you and the Almighty. That's you telling hell, I'm not playing your game anymore. Because here's the mystery that will blow your mind. Heaven will rewrite your story the moment you pass the test of restraint. The second you choose spirit over flesh, The moment you close your mouth when you have every right to open it. The instant you stay still when everything in you wants to move. That's when God moves mountains you couldn't budge with a lifetime of striving. But are you strong enough to be silent? Are you brave enough to stand still? Are you wise enough to let God fight while you hold your peace? Because what happens after you pass this test will require a strength you didn't know you had. Listen to me, chosen one. Friday isn't just coming to test you. Friday is coming to show you. There's a difference between surviving a storm and understanding why it was sent. And what God is about to reveal on Friday will change everything you thought you knew about the last 30 years of your life. You see, there's a reason why this week has felt different. A reason why old wounds suddenly started throbbing. A reason why certain names keep appearing in your mind like ghosts demanding attention. Because this Friday, heaven is pulling back a spiritual curtain that's been hanging between you and the truth for decades. It's like switching on a basement light after living in a house for 40 years. You've heard noises down there. You've smelled something rotting. You've felt the cold air seeping up through the floorboards. But you never wanted to look. You convinced yourself it was nothing. Until God says, enough, it's time to see what's been crawling in the dark. And when that light comes on, beloved, you're going to see 3 things that will shake you to your core. First, you're going to see the hidden motives of people you've trusted. I'm talking about that friend who always shows up when you're broken but disappears when you're blessed. That family member who keeps you close enough to control but far enough to never truly love. That church member who prays with you on Sunday but gossips about you on Monday. Friday is going to expose the vampires who've been feeding on your light while pretending to walk beside you. Proverbs 20:5 says, "The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out." God is giving you that insight on Friday, and it's going to hurt before it heals. Because some people you've been defending are going to be exposed as the very ones who've been destroying you. But here's what you need to understand. This exposure isn't cruelty. It's mercy. God loves you too much to let you keep pouring into broken cisterns. He loves you too much to let you waste your final years investing in people who were never for you. Second, Friday is going to reveal the true source of that long-term emotional pain you've carried like a cross on your back. That depression that's followed you since 1997. That anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m. with its claws in your chest. That shame that makes you feel unworthy of love even after 70 years of trying to earn it. You've blamed yourself. You've blamed your parents. You've blamed your circumstances. But on Friday, God is going to show you the spiritual root underneath all that suffering. And when you see it, when you finally understand that what you've been calling mental illness was actually spiritual warfare, what you've been calling bad luck was actually targeted attack, everything changes. 2 Corinthians 10:4 reminds us, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. Friday is the day God hands you the weapon you've needed all along. But first, you have to see the enemy clearly. Third, and this is the one that's going to break you open, Friday is going to expose the generational pattern that's been running through your family, like poison in the bloodline. That pattern of abandonment, that cycle of poverty, that curse of early death, that legacy of broken marriages and estranged children. You've watched it destroy your grandparents. You've seen it cripple your parents. You've felt it trying to claim your children. And you've spent decades wondering, why does this keep happening? Why can't we break free? Friday is the day God shows you the original wound. The moment when the enemy gained legal access to your lineage. And once you see it, once you understand where it started, you'll finally know how to end it. Because here's the revelation that's going to change everything. Most of what you've been fighting wasn't even yours to begin with. You've been carrying generational baggage disguised as personal failure. You've been battling demons that were assigned to your great-grandmother but never cast out. You've been living under a spiritual contract that was signed before you were born. But contracts can be broken. Curses can be reversed. And this Friday is your Emancipation Day. Now I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds terrifying. Why would I want to see all this darkness? Because, beloved, you can't heal what you won't reveal. You can't fight what you can't see. You can't break free from a prison you don't even know you're in. Friday reveals, Saturday heals. That's the pattern, that's the promise. God never exposes you to destroy you. He exposes the enemy to deliver you. He pulls back the curtain so you can finally see what's been stealing your peace, blocking your blessing, and sabotaging your destiny. And here's the part that should make your spirit leap. While God is exposing your enemies on Friday, He's also revealing your allies. Some angels that have been assigned to your life, some divine helpers who've been walking beside you in disguise, they're finally going to make themselves known. That stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear last Tuesday. Angel. That phone call that came right when you were about to give up. Divine assignment. That door that opened when every other door slammed shut. Heaven's intervention. You've been surrounded by help you couldn't see. Protected by forces you didn't know existed. Carried by grace you never earned. And Friday is the day you finally understand how loved you really are. Some people you trusted will be exposed as wolves. But some angels assigned will finally reveal themselves as warriors. And when you see both, when you understand who's really for you and who's been against you, you'll finally know how to move forward with clarity, authority, and power. So, let me ask you something that's going to determine everything about your Friday. Are you brave enough to see the truth? Are you ready for God to show you what's been hidden in plain sight? Are you willing to let Him expose the darkness so He can flood your life with light? If you're ready, if your spirit is saying, "Yes, Lord, open my eyes," then I need you to type those 3 words in the comments right now. Open my eyes. Because what God is about to show you on Friday will either terrify you into retreat or awaken you into your greatest breakthrough. And the choice of which one happens is being made right now, in this moment, as you decide whether to trust Him with the unveiling. But here's what you need to understand before Friday arrives. And this is where everything we've talked about starts to make devastating sense. You know what nobody talks about? The loneliness that sits at your kitchen table every morning while you drink your coffee. The silence that's so loud it makes your ears ring. The way your phone doesn't buzz anymore unless it's a prescription reminder or a spam call about your car's extended warranty. I'm talking to you right now, yes, you the one who raised children who don't call. The one whose spouse's chair stays empty. The one who walks past mirrors and wonders when you became invisible to the world. Listen to me carefully. That achy in your chest, it's not just heartbreak. It's not just age. It's something far more sacred than you've dared to believe. Friday's test isn't coming to hurt you. It's coming to heal you. But here's the shocking truth that's going to cut deep. God cannot heal what you refuse to feel. Think about that. How many decades have you spent burying pain instead of processing it? How many years have you smiled through Sunday services while your soul was screaming? How many nights have you told yourself, "I'm fine," when you were anything but? You've been performing surgery on yourself for years, haven't you? Cutting off pieces of your heart that hurt too much to keep, amputating memories that bled too heavily, stitching up wounds with denial and distraction. But chosen one, a surgeon cannot treat a wound that's still wrapped in bandages of pretending. The book of Psalms tells us in chapter 1:4c, verse 3, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. But notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say He heals the ones who pretend they're not broken. It doesn't say he binds up wounds you won't admit exist. This Friday, this divine intersection we've been talking about, it's not coming with destruction. It's coming with exposure. God is about to reach into the chambers of memory you've kept locked for decades, and he's going to turn on the lights. That argument with your daughter from 19TC, still there, that moment your husband looked at you with disappointment instead of love, still bleeding. That choice you made in 1962 that you've never forgiven yourself for, still festering under scar tissue you thought was healing. You thought time heals all wounds, but time doesn't heal anything. Time just gives you more years to perfect the art of pretending the wound doesn't exist. I need you to understand something that might shake you. The fatigue you've been feeling all week, that's not your body giving out. That's your soul finally getting tired of carrying secrets. The confusion, that's not dementia knocking on your door. That's divine disorientation. God scrambling your normal coping mechanisms so you can't hide anymore. And those old memories flooding back. Faces you haven't thought about in 30 years suddenly appearing in your mind. That's not random. That's strategic. Heaven is bringing up every unresolved grief, every buried regret, every sealed-off pain point because Friday is surgery day. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you have been abandoned by the very people you sacrificed everything for. You worked 3 jobs to put them through college. You gave up your dreams so they could chase theirs. You poured your life into their lives. And now they're too busy. Now they don't have time. Now you're the inconvenience they squeeze in between their real priorities. The prophet Isaiah understood this when he wrote in chapter 14, verse 13. Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has borne? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. God knows what it feels like to be abandoned by the ones you loved most. Jesus himself cried out on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? But listen to what I'm about to tell you, and let it sink into the deepest part of your being. Your children may have forgotten you, but heaven has not. Your spouse may be gone, but God is not. Your friends may have drifted away, but the Holy Spirit hasn't moved an inch. This Friday test is God saying, enough pretending, enough performing. Enough hiding behind I'm fine when you're falling apart. I'm going to do surgery on your soul whether you think you're ready or not. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm fighting years old, I'm teen 2, I'm CT. I'm too old for this kind of painful work. Can't I just coast into heaven? Can't I just hold on until I don't have to feel anymore? But that's exactly what the enemy wants you to believe. He wants you to die with all that pain still locked inside. He wants you to cross the finish line still carrying the weights that were never yours to carry. He wants you to waste your final years medicating instead of dealing, distracting instead of healing, surviving instead of thriving. God has other plans. Right now, this very moment, there's a divine scalpel hovering over the most infected parts of your heart. And Friday is when the incision begins. It's going to hurt. It's going to expose things you've worked a lifetime to keep hidden. It's going to require you to feel everything you've been running from. But on the other side of that pain, on the other side of that surgery, there's a freedom you haven't tasted in 40 years. The question is, will you let God into the locked rooms, or will you keep pretending the doors don't exist? Because what happens on Friday depends entirely on how you answer that question right now. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal to you will change how you see the next 72 hours of your life. Because while you've been feeling that heaviness, while you've been sensing that danger, while Friday has been looming over you like a storm cloud, heaven has already dispatched reinforcements. You are not walking into this weekend alone. Right now, as I speak these words, there are assignments being carried out in the invisible realm that your natural eyes cannot see, but your spirit can absolutely feel. The book of Hebrews tells us plainly in chapter 1, Verse 34. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? Ministering spirits sent forth for you. But here's what most believers miss: angels aren't just floating around playing harps on clouds. They're warriors, they're messengers. They're divine operatives assigned to specific people at specific times for specific purposes. And when God declares that one of His chosen ones is about to face their final test, He doesn't send a memo. He sends an army. I need you to understand something that's going to shake you to your core. There are 3 specific angelic assignments that have been activated over your life this very week. 3 heavenly guardians who have been positioned around you because of what Friday represents. The first is the angel of clarity. You know that confusion you've been feeling, that fog in your mind that makes you forget things you've known for decades. That's not dementia, beloved. That's not age catching up with you. That's spiritual warfare designed to keep you from seeing what God is trying to show you. But the angel of clarity has been dispatched to cut through that fog like a sword through smoke. This angel carries one primary mission: to make you see what's really happening. Not what circumstances look like. Not what the doctor's report says. Not what your bank account screams, but what heaven declares over your situation. In the book of 2 Kings chapter 6, Elisha's servant woke up surrounded by enemy armies and panicked. But Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes." And suddenly the servant saw what was always there: mountains full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding them. The angel of clarity opens spiritual eyes. Have you noticed something shifting in your perception this week? Have you caught yourself seeing situations differently? That's not random. That's assignment number 1 activating. The second angelic assignment is the angel of protection. Now stay with me, because this one's going to hit different. Psalm 1 verse 1 declares, "For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways," keep you, guard you, shield you. Not because you're special in your own strength, but because you carry something heaven refuses to lose. This angel doesn't wait for you to cry out. This angel has already been stationed at your door, already standing between you and every weapon the enemy has aimed at your peace, already redirecting attacks you don't even know were launched. You want to know why that accident almost happened but didn't? Why that phone call that could have destroyed you never came? Why that diagnosis they expected to find wasn't there? The angel of protection has been on assignment, deflecting arrows in the invisible realm. Like a guard assigned to a king, so heaven assigns a shield to your soul. But here's what I need you to catch: this angel doesn't just protect your body. It protects your destiny. Because the enemy isn't trying to kill you physically. He's trying to kill your faith before Friday comes. He's trying to assassinate your confidence before the test arrives. He's trying to murder your hope before heaven reveals what it's been preparing. And there's a third assignment: the angel of endurance. This one's for those of you who are tired, bone tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. You've been fighting so long that you're not sure you have another round in you. You've been standing so long your knees are about to buckle. You've been believing so long that hope itself feels heavy. Isaiah 40 threatened promises, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." That renewal doesn't come from you digging deeper. It comes from supernatural infusion. And the angel of endurance carries that divine energy straight from the throne room into your weary bones. This is the angel that whispers, "One more step," when you want to quit. This is the angel that strengthens your grip when you're about to let go. This is the angel that breathes courage into your chest when fear tries to suffocate you. Now here's what's going to blow your mind. Some of you watching this right now are feeling something you can't explain. A warmth spreading through your chest. Goosebumps rising on your arms even though you're not cold. A sudden release of tears that you didn't know were trapped inside you. That's not emotion. That's confirmation. Your spirit is recognizing angelic presence. Sea angels don't announce themselves with trumpets every time they show up, but they do leave evidence. Unexplained peace in the middle of chows. Sudden strength when you should be collapsing. Clarity breaking through confusion like lightning splitting darkness. You've been wondering why you're still standing after everything you've been through. You've been asking yourself how you survived what should have destroyed you. You've been questioning where the strength came from when you had nothing left. Now you weren't alone. You've never been alone. Heaven has been marching beside you all along. And as Friday approaches, as this final test draws near, these three angels aren't retreating. They're intensifying their assignment. Because what God is about to do through you requires protection, clarity, and endurance operating at maximum capacity. You are not walking into this weekend alone. Heaven marches beside you. The armies of the Most High God have been mobilized on your behalf. And the test that's coming, it's already been rigged in your favor. If you believe God sends angels to guide you, if you can feel their presence even now, type these 4 words in the comments. I receive the covering. But before you do, I need you to understand something critical about what happens when you pass this test. Because the angels aren't just protecting you through Friday. They're preparing you for what comes after. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself right now. Have you felt like a stranger in your own skin this week? Like something inside you is rearranging itself, and you can't quite put your finger on what's moving? You're not losing your mind, beloved. You're losing your old frequency. Listen to me carefully. For the last 7 days, maybe longer, you've been experiencing things that don't make medical sense. Your doctor can't explain it. Your spouse thinks you're overthinking it. But your spirit knows something's happening that the natural eye can't see. You've been crying at random moments standing at the kitchen sink, watching a commercial, folding laundry, and the tears just come. No warning. No reason you can name. Just this sudden rush of emotion that feels like it's coming from somewhere ancient inside you. Your mood has been swinging like a pendulum. 1 hour you're fine, the next you're irritable, then you're overwhelmed with gratitude. Then you're anxious about things that never bothered you before. You've been snapping at people you love, then feeling guilty for hours afterward. And the sensitivity. Oh, the sensitivity. Noises feel louder. Lights feel brighter. People's energy feels heavier. You walk into a room and immediately feel what everyone's carrying, and it exhausts you in ways you can't explain to anyone who hasn't experienced it. Some of you have been getting headaches that don't respond to Advil. Others have felt this strange pressure in your chest. Not heart attack pressure, but spiritual pressure. Like something's trying to expand inside you, but your old framework won't let it. You thought it was stress. You thought it was your blood pressure medication. You thought maybe you're finally getting too old for all this. But what if I told you that every single symptom you've experienced is actually evidence that God is moving furniture in your spirit? See, here's what's really happening. Your spirit is rearranging itself to match God's new blueprint for your life. And just like when you move furniture in your house, there's noise, there's chos, there's dust everywhere. Nothing's where it used to be. The same thing happens in the spiritual realm when God starts repositioning you. 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here." But nobody tells you about the in-between. Nobody tells you about the moment when the old is leaving, but the new hasn't fully arrived yet. That's where you are right now, in the sacred chows of transformation. Think about it like this. When the weather's about to change, I mean really change, the birds feel it before the storm appears. They start flying different, acting strange, getting restless. They're not crazy. They're sensitive to atmospheric pressure that humans can't detect yet. You're like those birds right now, chosen one. You're picking up on a shift in the spiritual atmosphere that's coming. Friday isn't just another day, it's the arrival of the storm you've been sensing all week. But here's what you need to understand. This storm isn't coming to destroy you. It's coming to deliver you. Your discomfort is not an attack, it's alignment. Your anxiety is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough trying to break through. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it's your spiritual radar activating. Joel 2:20 declares, "And afterward I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions." But before God pours out, He clears out. Before He fills you, He has to make room. And making room feels like disruption. This is why you've been dropping things you've held for decades. Old thought patterns suddenly feel wrong. Old relationships suddenly feel heavy. Old habits that used to comfort you suddenly feel like chains. You're not falling apart. You're being freed from what you've outgrown. Some of you have even been having dreams this week, vivid, strange dreams that wake you up at 3 a.m. and won't let you go back to sleep. Dreams about doors opening, about flying, about conversations with people you've never met. Those aren't random neural firings, beloved. Those are download sessions. God is programming you for what's next while your conscious mind is out of the way. And the tears, oh, the tears. Those tears are decades of stored grief, disappointment, and suppressed dreams finally finding their way out. You're not crying because you're weak. You're crying because the dam is breaking and everything you've held back is flooding out to make room for the new. But here's what the enemy wants you to believe. He wants you to think all this chaos means you're going backward. He wants you to interpret these symptoms as evidence that something's wrong with you spiritually. He wants you to run to a doctor, get a prescription, numb yourself back to normal. But normal is exactly what God is trying to save you from. If this explains your week, if every word I'm speaking is landing like it was written, specifically about your last 7 days, then type these 3 words in the comments right now. This is me. Because what you're about to discover next will explain exactly why Friday matters, what test is coming, and how everything you've felt this week has been preparing you for the most important spiritual intersection of your entire life. But I need to know you're still with me. I need to know you understand that your discomfort has been divine preparation, not demonic attack. So tell me, are you ready to understand what Friday is really about? You know what most believers never understand. They think the path to breakthrough is a wide highway with multiple lanes and rest stops every few miles. But chosen one, that's not how heaven operates. What God has prepared for you on Friday doesn't sit at the end of a crowded road. It waits at the end of a corridor so narrow that most people take one look and turn back. I'm talking about the destiny corridor. And listen to me carefully, only a few pass through. Not because God is exclusive, but because the requirements are so high that most people won't pay the price. Jesus said it plainly in Matthew 7:4, "Narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." Few. Not many, not most, few. Why? Because what waits on the other side demands something from you that the world has taught you to fear. Total surrender of control. Think about this for a moment. When you walk down a dimly lit hallway, you can't see the end from the beginning. You can only see one step ahead, one tile at a time, and that terrifies people who need to know the whole plan before they move. But the destiny corridor doesn't work that way. It's lit by God Himself, and every step forward reveals the next tile, never more, never less. Here's what breaks my heart. I meet seniors every single week who tell me they've been praying for breakthrough for 20, 30, 40 years. And when I ask them what happened, they all say the same thing. I saw the door, but it felt too risky. too uncertain, too narrow. So they stayed where it was comfortable, where it was predictable, where it was safe. But chosen one, Friday is asking you a question that will determine the next chapter of your life. Will you enter the corridor? Because here's what you need to understand about this narrow path: it has requirements, not suggestions, requirements. And if you're not willing to meet them, the door won't open no matter how loud you knock. The first requirement is silence. You can't walk this corridor while your mouth is running. You can't negotiate with God about the terms. You can't explain to him why your way makes more sense. Psalm 4:10 commands, "Be still and know that I am God." Not be busy, not be loud. Be still. The second requirement is surrender. You must lay down every timeline you've created, every plan you've crafted, every strategy you've designed. You must walk into that corridor with empty hands and an open heart, trusting that what God removes will be replaced with something greater. The third requirement is stillness. Not just physical stillness, but spiritual stillness. Your mind must stop racing with worst-case scenarios. Your heart must stop jumping at every shadow. You must cultivate a deep, inner calm that says, "Even if I can't see the end, I trust the one lighting the path." And the fourth requirement, this one will separate the curious from the committed, is discernment. The destiny corridor is filled with voices. Some from heaven, some from hell, some from your own wounded past. And you must have the spiritual discernment to know which voice is leading you forward and which voice is luring you into a trap. Here's the mystery that will transform how you see Friday. Narrow doors lead to wide blessings. The tighter the squeeze, the greater the treasure waiting on the other side. The harder the entrance, the more magnificent the inheritance. But here's what heaven just whispered to my spirit, and I need you to receive this with every fiber of your being. On Friday, heaven measures your steps. One wrong move, one moment of disobedience, one decision made from fear instead of faith, one turn taken because it looked easier can delay what was meant for you. Not cancel it, delay it. And delay at 75 years old hits different than delay at 25, doesn't it? You don't have decades to waste circling the same mountain. So let me ask you the question that's burning in my chest right now. Are you willing to walk the destiny corridor even when you can't see where it leads? Because Friday is not just testing your faith, it's testing your willingness to move when God says move, even when every logical bone in your body is screaming to stay put. But what exactly is this test? What will Friday demand from you that this week has been preparing you for? Beloved chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to remember 3 things that will anchor your soul when Friday arrives. First, you are walking into a divine test, not to break you, but to refine you. Every symptom you felt this week, every restless night, every strange heaviness, it wasn't random. It was preparation. Heaven has been conditioning your spirit for what's coming. Second, the destiny corridor is narrow, but it's not empty. You are not walking alone. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised the dead, he is walking every step with you. His hand is on your shoulder right now, even if you can't feel it. And third, Friday is not your enemy, it's your opportunity. What the enemy meant to destroy you with, God is using to promote you. This test will rewrite your story, but only if you pass through instead of turning back. But here's what I need you to know with absolute certainty. You are not alone in this. God hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. He's still working, still moving, still orchestrating breakthrough in places you can't see yet. And you have us, this community of believers who understand your struggle because we've walked it too. We're praying for you, we're standing with you, we're believing with you. So let me ask you this final question. When Friday comes, will you step into the corridor with faith? Or will you let fear keep you stuck where you are? Before you answer, join me in prayer. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and let me speak over your life. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul hearing these words right now. You know their name, you know their struggle, you know the weight they've been carrying all week. Lord, I pray that you would breathe fresh courage into their spirit. Give them supernatural strength to face Friday with faith instead of fear. Open their eyes to see the corridor you've prepared. Give them discernment to hear your voice above the noise. Protect them from every scheme of the enemy. Close every door that leads to distraction and destruction. Open every door that leads to destiny and breakthrough. Let them feel your presence so strongly on Friday that doubt has no place to land. Surround them with your angels. Cover them with your blood. Fill them with your peace. And Lord, let them walk through this test not as victims, but as victors. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me what God spoke to your heart today. Ask your questions. Share your testimony. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been feeling that same heaviness, that same danger, that same call to step forward. Thank you for staying with me through this entire message. Your faithfulness to listen means you're serious about your walk with God. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We're building a community of chosen ones who refuse to walk this journey alone. Friday is coming, but so is your breakthrough. Walk into it with your head held high. God bless you, chosen one. I'll see you on the other side.